Welcome
everyone.
back. Happy Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas Eve. Uh, Pepper has decided to join us for a second, and
Oh,
so now
Pepper,
she's
that's
leaving.
Evan's.
Pepper,
That's Evan's dog's name.
I remember
Did
you
we?
telling me
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah, I
Yep,
forgot.
yep. Yes. So, anyways, Pepper wanted to be live. She gets jealous because Jake gets all the attention because he's on my profile thing, the little banner
Oh,
picture.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Anyways, so welcome back, guys. It's been 10 full days
It
since
has.
we last did a live. Janine has been flying all over the country to defend our right to criticize the foreign country that shall not be named on Christmas Eve. Anyways, except for, of course, we're going to name it here in just a minute. So, Janine,
Well,
tell
only to
us.
California, but it did feel like all over the country on United with their cramped seats and everything. I was like, have I only been on this plane for 6 hours?
A few weeks ago, I was like going through some older pictures of like what the airlines used to
Yeah.
look like back in the 60s and 70s. It's so nuts. It's
Yeah.
like it's so crazy how just how plush and nice and not cramped. I mean, of course, you know, the first class is like something we can't even dream about now.
Yeah.
First class really was like a private plane is now what I
Yeah.
envision a private plane to be. And then but even in coach, it was like huge seats, you know, two seats that to
Yeah.
each side, and they're massive, and there's all this leg room and everything. I was like,
Yeah, I
no, it's the
know.
consultant class. I blame them. They
Yeah.
just suck.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
So
I know.
how was it?
I remember. Well, so the hearing was good. I don't make predictions based on hearings because I've been burned before by judges thinking that went well. She was very interested, which is better than not interested. Sometimes you get a judge where you're like, you know, you put all this effort and you get up there and they're just like, nah, next. So it went on for like an hour and 45 minutes with about an hour and a half of the questioning was of me. The government had taken kind of a milk toast position and basically said, I don't remember if I talked about this last time, but like our client's speech wouldn't be censored under the law. They're like, no, of course this doesn't censor pro-Palestine speech. But then all these amici came in, these like Zionist Jewish groups, like the American Jewish Committee and JPAC, and they were like, oh no, that stuff is anti-Semitic and should be should be banned under the new law. So they like contradicted each other. And one of my claims was that the law is unconstitutionally vague. Like nobody can actually know what it prohibits because it's not clear. And I think it is purposely written in a way that indicates it would punish anti-Israel or anti-Zionist speech, but doesn't explicitly state it so that people like just it chills their speech. They're like, you know what, I think this might be unlawful and I could get in trouble, so I'm just not going to say anything. But then they don't directly do it to sort of prevent viewpoint-based challenges, saying like it discriminates based on viewpoint. So it's kind of cleverly done. But so I said, like, the fact the defense and their own amici can't even agree on what this law prohibits is proof it's vague. And she kind of nodded. It also, when it started, she started with a statement about the Bondi Beach shooting, and I was like, oh fuck, excuse my language. My heart kind of sank, and then she was like, but you know, and then there were the Hamas attacks on October 7th. But we also have to remember 80,000 people or more have been killed in Gaza, and some might call that disproportionate. But also, none of that is what this case is about. And I was like, okay, she's, you know.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because I hear that, and I think even though obviously everyone knows I'm extremely sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, obviously the genocide has, you know, left a mark on me. I still don't think either way it goes that should have any impact on Americans' right to speech, right? Like,
Yeah.
and especially, you know, the Bondi Beach thing. Like, okay, I don't care. Like, I know
Yeah.
it's not that I don't care. Obviously, that's very sad. You know, another problem, of course, is that I'm an American, and we have mass shootings kind of all the time, and maybe I'm a little cold to them and whatnot. And that I'm like, when we have mass shootings in the U.S., we don't have. I don't know if you saw, but the Prime Minister of Australia came out, the Albanese came out and said,
Yeah.
no, we're gonna cancel your protests. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to protest right now. Yeah, we're gonna invite the president. I called the president of Israel. We're going to have him here so we can really talk and combat Like, I mean, I don't know. Australia could, obviously they could do whatever they want, but why is that getting brought up in an American court case?
I
That's
Yeah.
troublesome.
Well, I think she's trying to insulate herself, frankly, from like claims that she doesn't care about anti-Semitism, or so I can see the
Yeah,
strategic value in doing that, especially
right.
since she, mentioned the 80,000 killed in Gaza and it
Hmm.
being maybe disproportionate, which when a judge says that, that actually means something because judges
Yeah,
don't usually. So I can
yeah,
kind of see why she did that, but yes, and I mean, how many Palestinians have died in the last week and like nobody cares. They just shot a kid who said he threw a brick, and this is the IDF. It's also like, and I think you say this a lot. It's really different when the state does it. Like random mass
yeah,
shootings are terrible and they're
yeah,
condemnable and
yeah.
people deserve to be punished when they happen, but we should be much more concerned about government sanctioned violence
Yeah,
because that's
state-sponsored
yeah,
violence
state sponsored,
is,
not even sanctioned, but
yep,
yeah, you're right, exactly.
yeah. It's yeah, state-sponsored, state-funded, state-enacted violence. Obviously, it just carries more weight in every way, shape, and form, right?
Yeah,
When the United States government is sanctioning the UN Special Inspector for Israel,
yeah,
um, then when we have frozen her bank accounts the way that we have, when we are freezing the bank accounts of the ICC prosecutors on behalf of Israel, again, we aren't even, when I say we're sanctioning the ICC prosecutors, we have frozen their bank accounts.
yeah,
Uh, when we're doing that, to a court that we don't even belong to. We haven't even signed the Rome Statute. Obviously, yeah, I actually do get a say when my government is acting on behalf of a foreign country and alienating our other allies, right?
that's right. Yeah,
Much stronger, much better in every way, shape, and form allies, right?
yeah,
So yeah, no, it's very different. And then of course the everything that Israel does, the US in some way, shape, or form either funds, supplies, or defends or cleans up. One
yeah,
of those four things we have to do. So yeah, when they bomb a wedding in Gaza at they're being held at a school that's been turned into a shelter, and they kill babies, 4-month-old babies, like they just did just the other day, 7 people murdered. And all we get is, well, it's an we're gonna have an
yeah,
investigation. We're
yeah.
gonna look. We're going to investigate ourselves, and we'll let you know if we did anything wrong.
And then, yeah,
You know,
I mean, there was like the settlers you posted about, I think, who attacked the pregnant woman.
right?
Um,
Yeah,
and
that was especially frustrating for me because
yeah, they just got what, a few hours or days in detention or something, and or,
so there seems to be some confusion about whether or not, I actually think this is pretty rich, whether or not that was their final punishment or if they've just been let out awaiting their trial, which again, we just
mm,
dealt with Mohammed Ibrahim, who
yeah,
was accused of throwing rocks, never actually hitting anyone. No,
yeah,
there's no victim in his crime.
yeah,
And he was ripped out of his bed at 4 a.m. and thrown into a military prison. And he was held there for 9 months. At 16,
yep,
15, he turned 16 while he was in the jail. And so, again, there's no victim in that crime. So, why is it that if what some of the people who responded to me, if what they say is true, it's like, why, if you actually have a victim, there's a real victim, why would these men be allowed to go home? And then I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. What do you mean they're on house arrest for 6 days and then they just get to go back to their normal life? Doesn't
yeah,
sound like a pre-trial release. That sounds like
no,
this is your punishment, you know?
yeah, yeah. No, it's a totally two-tiered apartheid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
There's like a 1 tier and then 30 tiers down,
yeah,
there's another
yeah,
one,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
exactly. I
it's
know.
not even the
Yeah,
same planet. Yeah.
yeah,
So, anyways, yeah, that's what the U.S. defends and supports and uses all of our resources for. Lord knows that our right now, Lindsey Graham is in Tel Aviv, or at least he was there yesterday, advocating for more war with everybody, war with Russia. So, Lindsey Graham says that we should start seizing Russian oil ships.
what?
I mean, I don't. He's just so stupid. I
So
can't
stupid.
even, but of course we never would. We would never do that, right? Because Russia would make us pay for that. It
Yeah.
would hurt. It would hurt
Yeah.
very badly.
These war hawks are so insane. Glenn Greenwald posted something like John Adams, I think, had written about the need of some people, like an insatiable need for war, and he described basically to a T Lindsey Graham and who else, like
Yeah.
who would you say those war hawk nut jobs? Marco
Joe
Rubio.
Wilson. For some reason, South Carolina has a special talent for producing these people. I think Joe Wilson is especially. Joe Wilson is one of these ones that he bothers me because whereas I think that Lindsey Graham is just wholly corrupt and I think that he
Yeah.
launders money. And I think that, his kind of just his can be summed up just he's just a cacophony of vile sin and vice and all of the things, and he's just easily exploited. Whereas Joe Wilson, whenever I hear him speak, it's like he really believes the bullshit that he's
Yeah.
peddling. He was all in on Syria. Very
Yeah.
bizarrely, very, very invested, and he's not dumb. He knows this area. He knows the conflicts, a lot of the sectarian conflicts. He's very, very well versed in them, and he really does seem to believe the things that he says, which is concerning to me, right?
Yeah.
Just so
Sorry.
everyone knows, no, Lindsey Graham does have a primary challenger. His name is Mark Lynn. Lynn, yeah, I believe it's Lynn. Very nice guy, and we are going to have him on the podcast. I think we're going to start in the new year, really kind of showcasing all of these races, like good races. I would really like to focus on people, whether it's Democrat or Republican, people I think could actually win their primaries, because I always say I think that the fight is in the primaries. There's only 50 swing states, or 50 swing seats in the House, so the rest of them have to come, if you want change, has to come out of the primary.
Yeah.
And so
someone was showing me a video of, I think he's DeSantis. Now it's like, I know it's Florida. I'm pretty sure it was someone who's challenging DeSantis. Yes.
He's not challenging DeSantis. He's challenging Byron Donalds, who is running to replace DeSantis. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
That one doesn't feel. I'm not going to say anything. It's just that he did have some. If he had a mea culpa, right? If you just woke up one day and you're like, hey, I was actually super wrong on Israel, and no, I'm not
did he do a 180 with no explanation? Is that that's suspect.
It's always suspect. And here's the thing, I'm not actually even opposed to just opportunists, just sheer opportunists, right? I just need to know that when you get in there,
you're not gonna
that you're not gonna flip again.
I mean, there are people like Anthony Aguilar, who's not running for office that I know of, but like he has a story about how he started pro-Israel and became, and like it's a very believable story. And you can see the progress. So that's not, but it's like, when somebody, and especially a politician who has a motivation to be disingenuous, it's a little bit, that's a good point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, someone just showed me like a 2-minute clip, and I was like, oh, I like what he's saying, but I didn't do any more research into him.
Yes, I know. Somebody brought up I'm always torn on this, guys. Somebody just brought up the rabbi on my post at the Bondi Beach thing,
the guy the Amalek guy?
Yeah. Obviously that's disgusting. That's gross, but he's dead. So I always feel weird about, like, it's like, I don't know what to say to that. Like, but if you guys notice, I actually didn't post anything about Bondi. Like, I'm not going to sit here and, I don't either.
I've only posted.
I don't feel a need to this is a mass shooting in a foreign country. That's sad. This happens in the U.S. all the time. Unfortunately, I don't even
plenty
comment
of other
on the
countries
ones,
all the time.
Right. I don't even comment on the ones here. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I even addressed it directly. I said a couple things about like 15 kids died in Gaza, last week of hypothermia or whatever. Nobody cares. It's but yeah, and I don't, I don't want to be like, we shouldn't, I feel like it's hard to phrase it artfully in a way that's not like we shouldn't care about this. Like, we should care about all death, and, all murder is horrible and wrong, mostly. There are a
Yeah.
few people I would have to strain to be sad about, like Netanyahu, but,
Well, I just wouldn't care. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, but it's hard to like, and I think it
Yeah.
just so much illustrates the fact that some lives are more valuable than others, and frankly it's
Right.
Jewish lives that are considered
Yeah.
so much more valuable, and especially than Palestinians.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, and I think when you see that some of the people who were victims were calling for the murder of Palestinians, it's a little bit like hard to feel an extreme amount of sympathy. Maybe I am not a
Right.
great
Yeah.
person.
No, no. I always think, I have a limited amount of, I just have a limited capacity. I'm a human being. I have a limited capacity for like expressing, all the sympathy and empathy and all of these things. Uh, it is what it is. And, um, you know, I
Do
try
you
to save
see?
it for obviously my countrymen and the things that my government backs, right? Again, I was talking with somebody the other day about like Myanmar. Like there's all this, Myanmar had a coup in 2021, and there's been a lot of pretty crazy things that have happened there that no one ever talks about. It's this very weird thing that no one ever really talks about. And and it's not that I don't care, but I, it's all finite. And
Yeah, yeah.
we have to be very careful about how, because you can overextend yourself and you can just become super black pilled and super depressed with the
Yeah.
state of the world in general. I do not believe that humans were meant to absorb as much information uh, and tragedy as what we are able to expose ourselves to
I
with the
agree.
internet.
I think that's why people have so many mental health problems these days. Because like you're taking in. I mean, if you think about like our ancestors who lived without
Yeah,
phones or even TV, like before
yeah.
that, you took in so much less information. It was literally just your life experiences, and now it's
And
like
the
we're
newspaper,
inundated from and the
right?
newspaper, yeah, which is okay, right? The newspaper is pretty, pretty minimal compared to like just constant information and the
Right.
nastiness too. I think that pervades social media that we didn't used to have traditionally.
Yeah.
Someone has a question for you. This is
What's
not
up?
how will Vance handle the Israel question when he runs? I don't know if you want to answer it, but you're the Republican politics expert. So.
So Vance is going to have a very fine line to walk, because I know that Vance wants to run America First, and America First runs counter to a lot of Israel policy, which is of course a globalist policy, right? So we have military presence all over the Middle East. There's a strong contingent of experts, pundits, people within the intel community in DC. They want to shift to Asia, right? They want to focus on Asia, and that's problematic for people in the Middle East, right? So you see Trump, a lot of the things that he has done is he's trying to set up Qatar, the UAE, and the Saudis to. I think his trip in the spring was actually to set them up as kind of like one, and then to counter Israel, right?
Mm.
I think that's what he ultimately but him, but obviously we have the problem because we have this giant country over here called Iran that's like a no, actually we're going to have our own influence. And the other thing is that Iran is very good in with China, right? They've just having the US so stupidly having isolated Iran for the last 50 years at the behest of Israel. It's a problem that, and it's not going to be an easy needle to thread on his part, because he needs Jewish donors. He just needs that money. I mean,
Yeah.
it costs at least $1 billion now to run for president.
So crazy.
Right. Plus,
Yeah.
he's gonna be challenged by Marco Rubio, 100%. You're probably gonna see Marco Rubio leave sometime. I would say next year.
Hmm.
Maybe he might wait out until early 2027. He wants that spot.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz, he's going to be challenged by, which
Oh,
is just
God.
a joke. I know it's a
Yeah.
joke. He's an idiot.
Well, he's
But
hoping for Miriam Adelson's money, I'm sure. Adelson.
Yeah. Well, Ted Cruz he'll take a VP slot. He'll be fine with that. So I would genuinely rather gargle bleach than vote for Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. I'm not 100% sold on JD Vance either, to be quite honest with you, but yeah, I know. I mean, Rubio is that's a non-starter for me. I just simply won't. And I think that's a non-starter for about 15% of the electorate. So
15 or 50?
15, 1 5. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't sound like a lot, but he needs that. He does need those. He doesn't necessarily need them in the primary, but he absolutely needs them in the general. And I think that it's probably a strong 15% that just simply would not vote for Marco Rubio. Now, I don't know how many people won't vote for it. JD Vance has got the thing. He's got that Peter Thiel albatross around his neck.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a supreme Thiel hater the way a lot of people are. I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for saying that, but it is what it is. I just don't. I look at Thiel a little differently than most. I've never really put all of my thoughts on him out there, but we'll see. Do I think? I do think you're never going to see him be like pro-Palestine. That's not going to happen. What you will see is you're going to see a push for America first.
America first, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, as someone who understands this much less than you, this is not my field, but Stanley also brought up the Epstein files, which I had wanted to discuss. I think we both wanted to, the updates on the Epstein files.
I love this. I love the PDF stories so much.
The fact that you can see the redactions if you put them into like Notepad or something, it's like, we're dealing with the most incompetent people on the planet.
I was talking to someone yesterday because I was curious. I was like, let me call someone that I know will know, like, what is this? Because someone brought up a good point. They said, if you share these files after they have been unredacted, are you in violation of sharing classified information? Right? And I was like, okay, that's actually a decent question, right? I was thinking, well, I can't imagine that the government could actually prosecute because you've got tens of thousands of people doing this, right?
Yeah.
But I was just curious, like what? So I called up someone and they said, they were laughing. They're like, they've never seen anything like this. They said, so typically if somebody doesn't redact properly, it's called like a spillage, right? And they said, now, normally this is of course never released to the public, but so if you have a spillage, if this occurs, right, that something was supposed to be redacted and it was released on, to this is like a government-wide network, anyone who actually came in contact with that file, their computer would be confiscated and they would remove the file manually, right? This person then said, but I don't know what they're going to do. They said, well, number one, they're going to have an investigation to see. And I have been wondering about this, if this was done on purpose. People keep thinking like, oh, they're so stupid. Yeah. I just don't. And the person I talked to yesterday, who is very learned in these things, says, I don't believe that this was done on accident. They said they just don't understand how they're like, this is like 101. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how to redact. Anyone who did this probably did it because they wanted you to be able to do this, and they knew that you would figure it out. So,
but surely that person, they know who that person is, and they get fired, right? So that person would have to be willing to put their job on the line.
They could be willing, to put their freedom on the line.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. My theory is like never underestimate how incompetent people can be.
It's true.
Yeah. I've seen it with my own eyes, but I did see, so I'm sure you looked at this more carefully than I did, but as usual with these things, but I did see a couple of things about how he said that he had woken up, Epstein, while he was incarcerated, said that he had woken up with strangulation marks around his neck, and he didn't remember shortly before his death, and he didn't remember how they got there. They had happened while he was in the solitary housing unit. That seems, I mean, I was convinced he'd been murdered before this, but that seems like pretty solid, like.
Yeah. So he was housed with a crooked cop, right? Guy, I believe the cop that he was cellmates with was in there on some kind of drug charges,
Uh,
and yeah, he accused when he went to the infirmary. Um, he accused his cellmate of trying to strangle him. I believe, don't quote me on this. I believe he then goes from there to solitary or to not solitary confinement, but he goes on suicide watch, and then he's brought off of suicide watch, and one day later is when he ends up dead.
oh.
So I don't know if they actually released the files on whether, what it was that spurred him going on suicide watch to begin with. Um, I know a lot of people who actually knew him said they weren't surprised by this, but his brother has always maintained that he didn't. I don't know if you caught our dear friend Michael Tracy on with Glenn Greenwald yesterday.
No, I
and
didn't, thankfully.
Michael Tracy.
Is he still doubling down?
Michael Tracy says, well, he told Glenn Greenwald last night that he's not really an age of consent guy. It's like, well, that explains about everything, doesn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, so Tracy has doubled down, and not only has he doubled, tripled, quadrupled down, he has gotten Matt Taibbi as well. I was a little surprised, not too surprised, because I now know that Matt Taibbi is a giant asshole. But before the Epstein files were released, Taibbi actually wrote a long thing for his Racket News Substack. Now, Chris, I wasn't paying to read this. I always love it when people put, the little teaser to their newsletter, and they say, the Epstein thing is, nothing but content fodder for the grifters. Here's my piece behind a paywall.
Yeah. So, I mean, does Michael Tracy have an age that he would say, like, there should be, or is 3 years old okay, or what's the...
I'm sure he would probably say anything post-pubescent. So he would draw the line at puberty. Now, I do not speak for Michael Tracy, okay?
Yeah.
We all know that Michael Tracy and I do not like each other, okay?
But that's
that's what I would imagine is what he would put.
Yeah,
I mean, people who object to these things.
So what I would say, what I would concede on that point is that there's a difference, like in how awful it is. Like preying on young children who are prepubescent is like a different kind of crime than young
child
girls
molestation.
That young girls between like 13 and 18 who like don't have the maturity to really consent, but it's not like as gross. But that doesn't mean it's not an issue. And like as a society, I think it's important we understand, like, frankly, a lot of people make really bad judgment calls till they're well into their 20s. I don't think we should make the age of consent 25, but of
course.
But I think 17, 18 is extremely reasonable as it is in most states. That's when I think most people are somewhat able to make reasoned judgments.
I would be comfortable with drawing the line wherever you draw the line for any other felony if that teenager were to commit a crime, right?
Yeah.
So I've always had the problem with, 16 years old. Obviously, I don't want rich men preying on young girls, period.
Yeah.
I don't even like rich men going after 19 or 20-year-old girls, I always try to tell young girls, honey, the one thing you can't buy is time, and your youth is priceless. Do not waste it on some old man.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Even if he has a lot of money.
Even if he has a lot of money, girl, trust me. Okay? You're just not gonna, these older men, they'll just suck the life out of you, right? Enjoy your youth. And so I'm not comfortable. Obviously, I wouldn't make that illegal. I just, I do think it's, we should try to impress upon young girls, like, no, like there's more to life than just money, obviously. That said, obviously anything below 18 years old, I don't want these old men coming, Now, Do I think that if you are like into 16 or 17-year-olds, I think it should be illegal. Would I call you a child molester? No, I wouldn't call you a
Yeah,
child
no. And
molester.
some
You're not.
people
I
do.
think
That's
right. It's weird.
Some
I
people
don't
do.
like that.
So I can
Yeah.
see reacting to like overuse of the term pedophilia. Because, yeah,
Right.
I think a 40 or 38-year-old guy who wants to sleep with a 16-year-old girl isn't like a pedophile. He's a
Right.
creepy older guy.
He's a
And
predator. He's a
he's a
predator.
predator, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a different thing. And so I can see objecting to overusing that
Right.
terminology, but because I think there's a gravity, to like actually molesting
Correct.
children that's
Right.
not captured by that scenario. But that doesn't mean you have to then defend it. And also, I really find it disgusting how he attacks the girls. Like, they are
It
young
is.
women.
It's so
They might
vile.
not all have been saints, but you and I were
So
once
vile.
young women. You're
Yeah.
like very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And older men try to take advantage of you, and you often don't have the maturity or the understanding of what's going on and how much they're trying to prey on you to withstand that. So I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
part of why it pisses women off so much more than like to
Oh
hear
yeah.
people talk like Michael Tracy. Like it's these gold digging 16-year-olds from abusive households. It's like so gross.
Oh, I know. Number one, we know that Jeffrey Epstein, that he sought out young girls from vulnerable situations and
Yeah.
from socioeconomic classes. Because again, this is a man. He's a billionaire, and he's like throwing out $200. Obviously, that's nothing to him. To have a
Yeah.
14-year-old girl who he had picked up from a trailer park. Okay.
Yeah. Did you see
To
the video with, I think it was Steven Pinker, and they brought the girl in, and you can hear her say, "Where are you taking me?" There is no 14 or 15-year-old girl who wants to have sex with these old men. They're like,
No, that's
they
not a
might,
thing.
yeah,
No.
exactly. They might feel like they need the money or they're troubled and they have problems, but that's not like, it's not a
Well,
thing.
one of my favorite things was I don't say favorite thing, but I just thought it was just so rich was Richard Hanania, who is just vile in every way, shape, or form. But so he actually posted on X one day. He said a hypothetical situation: would you be okay with a 14-year-old? Oh no, yes, 14. Yes. So with a wealthy man setting up a trust fund for a 14-year-old girl that she could access as an adult in exchange for her virginity. Something to that effect,
Yeah.
right? Which, of course, it's like, so let me get this straight. You think that the girl is old enough to consent to her body, but not old enough to have access to this money. your
Yeah.
your scenario, your prop for this question willingly concedes all of that.
Yeah.
You should be able to answer your own question here, bub.
It actually,
You know?
yeah, it really makes me kind of mad. And I feel like there's a lot of guys, but maybe certain breeds more than others, like really don't understand how girls
Did
are
you
like
say
raised
certain
different.
breeds?
Yeah. Like Michael Tracy. They don't understand
Yeah.
how it is for young girls. Like it's very difficult. And then, it was just a couple decades ago. I was 16.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's it's
Yeah.
very hard.
Yeah.
And these old men come after you and they like see vulnerability and like make you promises and you don't quite understand what's going on. You don't quite understand the big picture. So
Oh, thank God
yeah.
I never had any old men come after me when I was young. But when I was 20 years old, I had a 31-year-old boyfriend for a few
Yeah.
months. And that was when I realized, like, oh, they'll suck the life. Like he was just
Yeah.
older. Like he was just older.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
can't,
No, you
and that
can't.
was
Yeah.
I was like, gosh, I feel like and it felt like he was using me for my youth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's what they're
He
doing.
wanted to be young and free and all of these things, but he wasn't, right?
Yeah.
He was in his 30s. Like, it's funny now because having, obviously being older than that now, I feel young, but I'm like, God, I would never hang out with a 20-year-old. Like,
Yeah, I know. But it's like, I know. And like, you and I would never want to sleep with a 16-year-old
No.
boy. Like, that's
That's
so,
gross.
I
That's
don't
so
know. It's
gross.
so like weird how, with role gender, I mean, I get that there's some biological reasons, but, or explanations for men,
Right.
being attracted to younger women that don't necessarily map onto, but it's also gross. Anyway, normal people can agree
Yeah.
that even if you don't think this behavior was
I don't
criminal.
think it's a pedophile. Well,
Yeah,
I
don't
do
think so.
think his behavior was
No, it was criminal. I think it should be. I
Yeah,
was no. I'm
yeah.
to be clear. I'm saying even if you don't like, that doesn't
Right.
mean it's okay, or that the girls were just these horrible. You're talking about teenagers, kids, these horrible money grubbers. I think it should be illegal. Of course, should be a lesser class of crime than molesting an 8-year-old. But
Right.
um,
Yeah, somebody said these people are old. Stanley says these people are old. They need to kick in the balls. I mean, yeah, like obviously, I think that. Well, so when I really looked into the Jeffrey Epstein case, I was so bothered by really the preying on the young poor girls. That him really trying to go after these and another thing that irks me is I feel I've heard Tracy talk about this a couple of times where he almost tries to portray like Epstein was just trying to help them. He saw, he felt sorry for them. Bullshit. No, he knew that these young girls didn't come from good homes and that they would be less bother. They would be less trouble for
of
him.
course.
That's
Well,
it. That's all.
And he has
okay?
the leverage, right, of the money. Like
Right.
for
Yeah,
a,
yeah.
a young woman from a rich family, it's not going to have the. It's like my parents
Right,
can pay
no,
for
it's-
that.
Right. Yeah. Or all of their basic needs are because like one of the girls that she really wanted braces.
Yeah.
That's and I believe he paid for the braces. It's so wrong, right? Actually, how about you pay for the braces and I don't know, not make her watch you jerk off.
Yeah.
How about that? That makes you a decent person because you're a billionaire for no identifiable reason. Nobody can identify why, in fact, other than now we know it's because you were a Mossad agent and you were actually helping, people to launder their money in exchange for power. But regardless, so going back to Matt Taibbi, before these files get released, he writes this thing again. I don't pay for his subscription. I would never pay, having actually seen Matt Taibbi in person and witnessed what an absolute asshole that he is.
Remember how he told me to go fuck myself in the elevator?
Yeah.
He didn't say go fuck yourself in the elevator. We were in the elevator and he said go fuck yourself.
Yeah. So he did that to Janine for absolutely zero reason. But then,
Well, he was mad because I'd ratioed him on his own post criticizing him for the Barry Weiss thing. I think that
literally
was it, 'cause
the
that was right
lamest
after.
thing
Yeah.
ever. Yeah, but this is like days later. You guys are coming into contact. But he was just ill because he had been in a room full of pro-Palestine people, and he was reminded what a sellout that he was.
Yeah.
That was his real problem.
And it was an award show for journalists, and like the fallen journalists of Gaza were honored. Someone
And
from
he
the
was very
Electronic
angry.
Intifada, I think, he was very angry, and he there was a standing ovation for that one, and he only grudgingly stood
at the
after
very
everybody
last
else.
second.
For 1 second. Yeah, he's such an asshole.
So I just having witnessed that, and then but he's pretty close with Noam Chomsky, right? Or he was. Chomsky's dead, right?
No, Chomsky's alive.
Oh, he is. I always forget.
His death was reported like a year and a half ago, and it turned out to be fake. Yeah. He's really
so
old,
Chomsky.
but...
But he and Taibbi are close, I believe, right? Or at least they were at one time. Now we've learned that Chomsky was I don't know. He's quite the regular at Pedo Island.
Yeah.
Always on the plane, always, and which is been very interesting to watch because Chomsky was very anti-BDS. He's one of these anti-Zionist Jews who really gatekeep the movement in general, and again, that's kind of one of those things that people don't like to talk about that a lot, but hey, it's a thing and I don't care. I'll talk about anything.
Yeah.
Y'all know. So
he was also awful on COVID. He said unvaccinated people should be shut out of society, or I can't even remember the quote, but I was I'm done with Chomsky. He was like God in my house growing up because my parents loved him on International. His sort of, and then also my parents are linguists and he's a linguist. So it was on 2 counts, but I think my dad has revisited some of his Chomsky love.
That is so funny because he was a total commie in my house.
Well, we grew up in very different houses.
Okay. And, and yeah, we hate the commies. So, and I don't know, it's kind of funny, Chomsky. The first time I remember I read something by him, I can't remember. It was an essay that he did, and I was like, hey, actually, he's not that bad. Like, why does everyone why does
I
everyone
mean,
I know of hate him so much?
He has
some
written
good
some good
ideas.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, in my house, like the main topic was like anti-war,
Right.
especially my dad. It was like this American interventionist policy is horrible for everybody and like needs to stop. So
Right.
Chomsky, had reasonable things to say on that front.
Right. And certainly I would agree, except, I just think, I personally think that, well, you can't defend Israel per se, or even, I don't know. For me, anything post 9/11 has been done in servitude to the Zionist cause in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, I don't like to lay all the blame on Israel, because obviously we have our own politicians that we as Americans elected, and we need to be, we need to be honest with ourselves about the amount of power that we have given to these people. They have given us every reason to remove them from power. And yet instead we've quadrupled down on it. And, so, if Americans at any time, if we're fed up with it, we actually can fix it. We have the power to fix the problem.
Yeah. And I think Israel was a very large reason we went into Iraq, but I do think there were other interests like the military industrial complex. And of course, they're all kind of intertwined. It's hard to like totally separate these things.
Yeah.
But I'm going to grab a little more coffee. I'll be right back.
I am of the belief personally that Israel was 100% responsible for Iraq. We know that they were pushing it directly after 9/11. And so, yeah, that's a hard sell for me. Israel's a U.S. colony. No, sorry. Do not agree with that at all whatsoever. If Israel was a U.S. colony, all right, they wouldn't need a lobby. They wouldn't have to buy our politicians, okay? If we got anything out of this, anything at all out of this situation, there wouldn't be the need for the for the lobby, for the censorship, for everything. And so it's the military industrial complex. You can't disconnect from that. Again, we don't have a military base in Israel, so I agree
but I think there are interests like weapons manufacturers, BlackRock, all those people who are eager for us to go to war. Mm-hmm. So Israel might be an initial reason or a significant reason, but I think that also contributes.
Well, I do agree. We've had, I always say this all the time, that, the dumbest I've ever felt in my entire life was after we pulled out of Afghanistan. And I was like, even though it was horrific the way we pulled out, I just, was like, oh, it's done. It's done.
Yeah.
It's like, we're finally gonna shut it down. And then that was August 2021. February 2022 comes around, and Ukraine pops off. And what do you know? It's just it's just now all of that money that was getting spent, was being spent in Afghanistan and expropriated for Afghanistan goes to Ukraine. The beast that was built by the wars in the Middle East has to be fed. And it's an industry. It's a real industry that employs thousands, tens of thousands of people, and you can't just shut it down overnight. And that's another thing you have to be really honest with yourself about. We have to be honest with ourselves about. And I just remember like realizing, it's like, what are we doing here? What do you mean? Why can't we just talk this out with Russia? And then looking into it more and seeing the way that the seeds were laid in 2014, in 2018, and it's like, wow, well, there you go. I guess they're just going to move on. The band marches on, right? And so no, and that is an uncomfortable thing, because if you shut down the military industrial complex, nobody wants to talk about this, and people don't like it when you bring it up, because it's like, obviously the most ghoulish thing imaginable. Whenever the bombs are getting sent to Israel, and people say, "Well, that's American jobs," it's just so gross, right?
Yeah.
I, to the point where I'm like, I do wonder if that's what the whole Iron Dome thing was about or the Golden Dome for the US was. We're not going to shut it down. We're just going to bring all, we're going to change the manufacturing so nobody loses their jobs, and we're just going to build a Golden Dome for the US so we're not waging war everywhere, Took me a little while to recognize that was probably Trump's thing. I don't know what's happened to him.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't.
Well, I don't know if
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think a lot of people were surprised, including myself. I thought he would be much better than this.
Yeah, the Venezuela thing is weird, right? It's just weird.
Yeah, which gets us to the Bari Weiss story we wanted to touch on. And I will be interested in the opinions of viewers, since I had a question I would have asked you, but I know you haven't been able to follow it as closely. So I admit I really dislike Bari Weiss, so I pay too much attention to these things. She really gets under my skin, in part because she's such a horrible person and a midwit who's just been rewarded and rewarded and rewarded, and it really gets at me. And we're the same age, so it just, I don't know, there's something that I can't stand. But so she pulled this story from 60 Minutes, and I have my problems with CBS. I don't think I've ever even watched it. But 60 Minutes is kind of considered the most intellectual component. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it seems like it was a pretty well done story. I have not watched it, about Venezuelan men sent to who were mostly here on temporary protected status, I think, who were sent to, I think so. That's what I understand without having watched it. Some of them might have been in here unlawfully, but according to Max Blumenthal on Judge Knapp, this is what I listened today. This is, only 3% of them had been convicted of violent crimes. 3%. The other 97% were, either minor nonviolent crimes or nothing at all. And most of them were on temporary protected status. So they were sent to this torture prison in El Salvador or whatever. Mm-hmm. The video went through the vetting process. It had run promos, was about to be released, and she pulled it at the last minute, claiming that it hadn't, certain things hadn't been addressed, the administration hadn't responded to comment. I did read the memo she sent her staff. That was what she said, and she had a couple of other critiques. And it's, people sort of jumped to her defense and been like, well, that's reasonable. But, well, you can't just let administrations veto stories by not responding. That means, that's ridiculous. And then also, so I think a lot of people are reading into it that she was unwilling, they butter her bread, ultimately. She's really, a lot of the people who have helped her succeed are from that PayPal mafia. And are connected within the administration. And so she's afraid that if she runs a story that makes the administration look really bad, she's going to have problems. She also said, there's been reporting on this already, so I don't know why we need to reinvent the wheel, which, if she applied to her own, October 7th stories would not make a lot of sense. Or is not, I should say, is not being consistently applied. But in any event, this got out, and she's being heavily, heavily criticized. Then a report came out from Axios just about an hour or two ago, and I didn't have a chance to look into it much. I just read it, and they're claiming that the administration had responded, but the CBS story hadn't covered their response. That Tricia McLaughlin from DHS had written 100 words or something like that, or maybe 300 words, responding, and it didn't go in. So, that's the story now.
Yeah, I'm very torn on the El Salvador thing, because the thing is, they round these guys up. They say that they're gang members. Okay, number one, I'm always like, what are they doing in our country to begin with? Because the reason that they know that they're gang members is usually from their tattoos and whatnot. Regardless, apparently the Biden administration was very lax. My whole thing is that. And I know that a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but I'm like, Why doesn't or why doesn't Venezuela just take them back? Why isn't Venezuela speaking directly to El Salvador and saying, give us our people back? Right? We know that they're Venezuelan nationals, but the thing is, they don't want them back because they're probably gang members and they have problems, and nobody wants to deal with this effing problem. And they're human beings. We absolutely 100% must respect basic human rights. We have to. Even
And
though
due
I know,
process to like make
and
sure you have the right people.
correct. And and I do think that that is the problem, right? Is that you've got so many, right? And again, we've seen these big sweeps, right, where they're like snatching up. I always think it's interesting. Again, I don't want to see any innocent person get snatched up, obviously, but they snatched up 1,000 people, and they'll find one or two or three. Maybe.
Yeah.
Actually, I only know of
The
two.
problem is if
I
it
know of
was
two.
you wouldn't
Of
want it
course,
to be you.
absolutely,
It just
absolutely.
it wouldn't be us because we don't look.
Well, yeah, but I also don't actually,
Yeah.
illegally immigrate to other countries. That's the
Right.
other thing,
Right. So
So-
Max claimed, and again, I did not watch the special.
Mhm.
Max claimed that only 3%. No, so 3% were had violent convictions.
So
The
they
others-
had violent
he
convictions in
said-
the U.S.
I assume so.
Right.
I wouldn't. And
I
he
believe
did
that they're
he
actually
did
using
say,
their records from Venezuela as well, because they are in Interpol.
Okay.
I don't know if he covered that or not, but I do believe from what I've looked into, because again, this isn't like my thing right here. So
Yeah, it's
it's
not mine
not-
either. I
yeah.
only have so much mental space for.
Right.
So it's to me less about that issue and the story, which like I'm not,
oh
I
yeah,
do-
the
I
60 minutes
believe-
thing is much more
Yeah.
interesting to me.
I do believe everybody should get due process. That's like very important. We need to make
Absolutely.
sure before we ship you off to another country, we need to make sure you're not a citizen or on a green card or whatever.
So
make sure you're the right person. But
For me, I know this is going to be a point of disagreement for us. I'm like, the problem is we got 10 million people and it's just not feasible. It's literally just not possible. We don't even have the court. We don't even have the buildings to establish the courts, let alone the judges and the lawyers to process all of these people. We have to have some sort of expedited process.
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you necessarily have to have like a full trial and stuff for these things, but I think there
Yeah.
should at least be a judge that looks at, you
Yeah.
know.
I mean,
I mean, I don't think that just sweeping people up, you just can't do that. Then you've lost your,
well, but
so,
from what I
you know.
understand, all of these people were illegal. I don't think anyone has alleged that they were not here illegally.
no, a lot of them had temporary protected status. That is a
Okay.
legal status. So
Okay,
you've been
so
granted.
That's an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will grant you, if you've been granted temporary, but I do believe that Trump, I think he canceled that, and I do think that was a blanket thing that Biden put in. Again, this is the problem with allowing presidents to rule
Yeah.
by executive order, right?
Right. Well, yeah, and I mean, there are, of course, problems with
Yeah.
Biden's policy and problems with like then the blanket policy becomes. So there are. I mean, I'm not. So, and this is not my issue either. So I don't want to like because I just also don't want to speak on something I don't know a lot about.
Yeah, no.
My interest in the subject had much more to do with like Bari Weiss killing this story, or trying to.
Yeah.
She actually
Yeah.
gave it a new life. It's like the Streisand effect.
She did to the point where Hillary Clinton was weighing in, and then I saw Bukele weighed in and invited Clinton down to the prison. I'm extremely sympathetic to the problems that El Salvador has faced, the highest crime rate in the world, or the highest
Yeah.
murder rate in the world. And now like their kids can play in the streets again. It's tough. Like for me, I'm a very like law and order person, even though I am sympathetic to the limitations and often the abuses of that. I absolutely will agree to it. But at the same time, when you go from a country where you've got, I believe the murder rate was something like 40 per 100,000, which in the US it's about 4.
Yeah.
So
That's very high, yeah. Well, I
yeah,
mean,
it's
one
outside of a
one,
war zone. It was the highest in the world. Yeah.
Another issue I have that I feel like makes this difficult, and again, it's not my area of expertise. I've like seen documentaries in the past that I can't recall the details, but I, made an impression on me. Like our intervention, we've done pretty bad things in Latin America, like propping up dictators
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
helping drug
absolutely.
lords. And so we've made life worse for people there. And that
Oh,
has resulted
absolutely.
in this, gangs and all this violence. And then people wanted to flee here. So that all leads
Yep.
back to our like interventionist policies just being horrible for everybody.
Yeah, well, I will. Number one, I will absolutely again, and this is why I fully reject the fentanyl excuse that was given
Yeah.
for any kind of intervention with Venezuela. That's a total BS. We know where the fentanyl comes from. We know it's in the Sinaloa region of Mexico. Okay, we know the Sinaloa cartel is 100% in cahoots with Wall Street banks. All right.
Yeah.
Very likely, many members of our high ranking members of our government, we know that if they wanted to stop those drugs from coming in the US, they absolutely could
Yeah.
in one single day. They could shut that border down. All right. And they could institute a 100% inspection. They could stop all private personnel travel, only allow commercial crossings with appointments, and you could literally cut off all fentanyl,
Yeah.
heroin, drug flow into the US in a single day if they wanted to, but they don't want to because, of
No,
course,
they don't.
the money fuels all sorts of things. So, again, and I'm of the person, I know we always disagree on this, but I'd hang them all high, all of them. All of the
Yeah.
government officials. You catch a dirty cop on the border. I have no patience for any of it.
Yeah. I'm
And
not, yeah. Death
yeah,
penalty is not my thing, but I'm
yeah,
fine
yeah.
with I'm fine with locking them up.
Yeah. So again, like I 100%, we have to go for the people who have the power. We know who has the power. I love it. Somebody said, well, wake me up when you guys start, if you're so worried about drugs, wake me up when you start drone striking the presidents of these banks. Right. Because we know
Yeah.
the Wall Street banks have been laundering the money for decades. And so
Yeah.
that's where all the power is. So again, I'm not all about like pounding down on some like a gang member who's just, kind of forced between, I don't know, digging through
Yeah.
trash for food and feeding his family.
And
I'm
I
very
mean, a lot of
sympathetic to
people are
that.
in a situation where they like have
Yeah.
to join the gang. It's like life or death.
Right.
So it's
Right.
not
Yeah.
like we think of here where it's quite voluntary.
Right. But then
Um,
they get here and then, and there's
yeah.
some pretty compelling stories out of, our friend, Lee Fong has done some great work. We had him on the show. What's the other guy
We
from San
did.
Francisco? Not
Leighton
Lee Fong.
Woodhouse.
Leighton
Woodhouse.
Woodhouse has done fantastic work
Yeah.
about these kind of like, Honduras, the Honduran refugees who are like just straight up drug dealers. Like that's what they do. And they
Yeah.
all, drive the fancy cars and they've got the girls and all of the things. They're in the US. And then, of course, every time they get caught, they say, oh, my family's being held hostage. It's like, bitch, you're rolling in a Land Rover. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, you better call your family. You should have told them to get out while they could. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
It's a complicated thing. It does. And
It
of
is.
course,
And then the people I feel really bad for, like there are a lot of people who come here because they need a better life because it's horrible in these countries.
yeah, but then if you're
And
like selling drugs to
no,
our
I'm
people,
talking about
yeah.
normal people who just come
Yeah.
and, want to do gardening or do the pool or housekeep or whatever so that they don't
That's
have
what
to
I'm
like
talking about,
enjoy the
Brian.
gang violence.
That's what I always say. I always say, I always get jealous every time I see those videos out of Iran where they've got the cranes. I'm like, I'm so jealous of Iranian justice. And unfortunately for us, we've got to like deal with, I don't know. I always have to remember I'm on a podcast with a civil liberties.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion. That's part of my
Yeah.
belief in civil liberties. I just have a different one on this subject. But I'm not like
Yeah.
saying we should let drug
Oh, I
deal.
know.
Not at all. I don't want people
Never,
to
never,
misinterpret
yeah.
me. I'm not saying we should let gangs and drug
Yeah.
dealers like roam our streets without any. I'm just saying I
course,
think it's
yeah.
complicated, and I'm also like,
Well, yeah, and
you
you've
know,
seen the justice system abused, right?
Yeah.
And weaponized in such a way.
and it's also clear that some of what America has taken apart in sort of the deterioration of Latin America. So, I would like to see us like with the Middle East just get out and then
Right. Yeah. And
it's
the other thing, and that's why I don't comment on like the Bukele thing, because again, I'm like, what's interesting about Bukele, who I don't think is perfect. I do think he's a good leader. I think there is a danger in power, obviously.
yeah,
Absolute, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So there you
yeah.
do have to be extremely careful with that. That said, he's been a strong leader, and I do kind of like the way that he just throws up the middle finger at. And he says, I do not care about your influence. Like, I will not fight you. And I do believe that he has regained a lot of sovereignty in such a way. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, you're stupid because we're pulling stuff behind the scenes, blah, blah. I get that. I do. It's more complicated. But, and I do think that he has inspired sovereignty as well. I think that Venezuela is extremely sovereign. If we would stop jerking them around and stop punishing them with the sanctions that we do, they have actually a pretty staunch justice system themselves. That, from what I've seen, unfortunately, they have also they do their own little geopolitical moves. They have flooded Colombia with their own prisoners, their own bad people, which has created its own migrant crisis within South America. It's all extremely complicated. But that said, going back to Bari Weiss, who just sucks.
Yeah.
She just sucks on a
She
regular
does.
basis.
Well, I didn't comment on the story for like 24 hours because I was like, I want to make sure that I want her to fail, honestly, because I think she's a terrible person. So I want to make sure I'm not just speaking from my biases. But after reading everything, I was like, okay, I'm confident. And I just commented kind of, that she was corrupt. And then I saw the Axios thing and I was like, well, am I wrong? First of all, why didn't she say that the administration was asked for comment, gave it, and then that wasn't included? It strikes me as quite suspicious that they're coming up with this post hoc when she's getting all this flack. And then also, is that a reason to pull a story? Maybe they made a judgment that what the administration had said wasn't.
It was weird that they pulled that story. I don't even think, because it's like the holidays. Like, who?
Yeah.
A part of it is like, is anybody gonna care? Like, would people still be talking about this if you had just ran the stupid story? No.
Exactly. No, it's the Streisand effect.
Yeah.
I don't think she predicted
anyone. Yeah, to the point where it's like, was this on purpose? When was the last time anyone talked about a 60-minute story this long?
I know. Well, I know. You do wonder. Yeah, it is a little strange, and it became my entire feed. Probably because I clicked on like one or two tweets about it, and then it's just all I saw. I was like, is this all anyone in the universe is talking about? Is Bari Weiss either defending her? So I mean, I think, go ahead.
All anybody in my universe is talking about is Candace and Fort Huachuca, which no one even knew existed.
I don't know. Even I just heard that name 5 seconds ago.
Fort Huachuca.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know, last Thursday at the start of AmFest, which is the big conference done every year by TPUSA since 2021, and it was already going to be extremely controversial. So Charlie Kirk always, when he was alive, had Tucker Carlson at all of his AmFests. He was always a headliner from day one. And of course, Tucker Carlson has become more and more outspoken against the state of Israel. And it's not just that he's been outspoken against Israel. He's actually been extremely sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, to Arabs in the Gulf in general, to, I don't know, humanity.
Yeah.
It's been a very, for me, having followed this, it's very, very, I'm a veteran and I never even heard of Fort Huachuca. Join the club, Brian. I'm telling you. Nobody had heard of
Huachuca or
Huachuca?
Huachuca, okay, because he has with an H. Okay.
Yeah, that's how it's spelled, but it's definitely.
I see. Okay, he's spelled it the right way. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, anyways, so last Thursday was the start of AmFest, and Ben Shapiro, I guess, opened it up. Well, I guess Erica, I think, opened it with just a little something, and then Ben opens it. And at the same time, Candace hosts this guy who he's a weird story. I'm not gonna lie. This guy, his name is like Mitch, and it's not like Mitch, it's Mitch. So Candace says that she received this email that says, you should contact this person. He witnessed something, right? And I'm sure there were more details than that, but whatever. So she contacts Mitch, and Mitch gives her his story about how he had been stationed at Fort Huachuca with a joint task force in the military in the 90s. I believe it was 1990. And essentially, he had stumbled upon corruption in which the U.S. military was engaging in the facilitation of the trafficking of drugs in some way, shape, or form. Okay, so he, as a member of the military, as a member of this task force assigned at Fort Huachuca, so he ends up actually having, I guess, to go into witness protection, something like that. Apparently, there's some shady details about his past that have come up. People are saying he's not who he says he was, but for me, I actually just don't give a shit, because the thing is that Mitch says that he went to Fort Huachuca on September 8th to I guess find some answers to his background, to the things that happened to him in the 90s, and he witnessed something on September 9th, right? So he says on September 8th, when he arrived into Cochise County, I believe I don't know if I'm saying that right, but whatever, Arizona, that when he arrives there, that he's at the Country Inn and Suites. It's a small town, I guess, that he says he sees Erica Kirk there. Okay. And that she's there with Brian Harpole, who is the head of security for Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie Kirk at this time is in South Korea and then Japan, right? And this was a very weird trip already. So Mitch says that this is what he sees here. That's on September 8th. The next morning, and he says he recognizes her because of her eyes, her like husky eyes, right? I don't know. I mean, well, he specifically says, I recognized her because have you ever seen a wealthy woman who's trying to not look like she's wealthy? Right. And
Mel,
that is a very distinct. I know.
My son is crying.
I know.
No, you keep going. I'll bring him down. He'll probably just keep going. I'll come back.
So just so everybody knows. So we all know the type, you see a wealthy woman. There's lots of country songs written about this. Uh-oh. Okay, hold on just a second. There we go. You guys, everybody knows what that's about. Anyway, so Mitch says he sees her next morning. He goes out to Fort Huachuca, and he is kind of looking around, trying to find out where he needs to go to talk to people. And he gets directed to this building where apparently, this is very early in the morning, he comes across a meeting, high-ranking officials that he stumbles into. Now, initially, when I heard this story, when Candace told it a couple weeks ago, I was like, When I heard Mitch tell the story, it sounded a little, it sounded much more believable. I believed him when he said that he saw this. He saw these people. He knew he had stumbled across something important. And he comes into this building and he's telling the people exactly what it is that he needs or why he's there. And they kind of lock down, freak out. And so can you hear me, Jenny? I muted you, so.
Okay, as I was walking upstairs, I was like, I hope she muted me.
Yeah.
I think we're okay for.
I'll finish up quick. Anyways, so that's what happens. So, anyways, so he's there. He gets and he sees what he says. He sees Brian Harpole, who is again the head of Charlie Kirk's team. He also says he sees a congressman there, and there are other famous people there.
Say hi.
Yeah, a sweet baby.
Say hi to everybody.
Hi,
Say
baby.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I know we're almost done with this.
We're almost done. And then, oops.
Yes.
Then I'll come see you, okay?
Then what happens is that weirdly enough, everybody that had kind of been backing Candace or at least been kind of sitting on the sidelines of this stuff, they freak out in very, very bizarre ways. They get, number one, irrationally angry, okay? To the point where it's like all these people who have been accused of being at this meeting, which we have confirmed, or Candace has been able to confirm, she was able to confirm that Mitch was there through his metadata, through a video that he made. She was able to confirm, some flight information on some of these things. She was able to confirm lots of stuff. But then as far as who specifically was at the meeting, that was the question. So she throws it out there. And the response is psychotic, like just psychotic from these people. To the, me, if you said, hey, I think Mel was at Fort Huachuca in Arizona on September 9th, I would say, well, no, I wasn't. I was here. Wasn't me. It's not even a big deal. And then people will try to say, they'll say, well, they don't want to respond to Candace. I'm like, well, here's the thing, bub. She's the most popular YouTuber or podcaster in the world right now. You don't actually have that luxury. And if you can make her look dumb, if you can make her wrong, you can prove her wrong, just do it. Like, there's no good reason, especially since you all claim like you're just so fed up with this, just fully debunk her and discredit her.
Yeah.
And everyone, so the congressman that was accused, he never once, if somebody accused, I would say I was not in Arizona. I was just not in Arizona. Like, that's my denial, right? Nope. I was here and here. Never once was I in Arizona on that day. But this guy doesn't say that. He says he was traveling home from Nevada, or he was traveling back to DC from Nevada. And then at least this 36-hour window open. And he says, and then on September 9th at, I don't know, it was like 1:30 in the afternoon, which again, this is a 7:30 a.m. meeting. Like 1:30, we have him voting in the Congress, So it's like, I don't know, bub.
Yeah.
This is a 36-hour window. So why wouldn't you just say, no, I was never in the state of Nevada or state of Arizona on this day? That's a very, very easy thing to do. And yet none of these people want to do that. So now Alex Jones has taken up the cause last night, losing his ever-loving freaking mind between last night and today. His post, I haven't even commented on it because it pisses me off so bad that I'm like, you sound, number one, drunk. You sound irrational, and you sound emotionally attached to this in some way that's not normal. It doesn't feel normal or organic. So either you're a sellout. Okay, well, you definitely would be a sellout, or you're holding on to something. Just put it out there. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been dealing with. That's all my feet is, to the point where I hate it. I hate even going on there because I'm like, dude, just give me a freaking solid denial from somebody. Okay, that's all I want. I don't need somebody. So Brian Harpole messaged a third party a screenshot of a receipt of a ticket that he had, an airline ticket, which he says, but he doesn't issue a statement. I'm like, why wouldn't he just issue a statement? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, I probably have a very small window before my husband is out for the day. So. We did want to quickly cover Shael's request.
Yes. So yes, lastly, go to Gaza. Yeah, it's Christmas Eve. So, I know it can make your hearts heavy thinking about this stuff, posting about this stuff. Sometimes it doesn't feel appropriate for me at all times. But right now, there are, and here's the thing, Israel does these things. They absolutely do these things when they know that we're not paying attention, when we're busy
Yeah.
with the holidays, we're busy with our family and whatnot. So right now, they are actively stopping. There are hundreds, I believe, thousands of people total, but hundreds of children with
Kids, yeah.
cancer who Israel will not allow, they won't let their cancer treatment in, and they won't let them leave.
Well, and the hospitals have been destroyed. So, and then
Yeah.
there's like a center set up in Jerusalem for these kids to get treatment. It's there and it could save their lives, and Israel won't let them in. We do believe that this is probably one of the situations where if there is pressure from the public, Israel might feel that. So I promise this wasn't staged with my kid. He just got up from his nap and my husband is here. So, but yeah, we do beg you, I think tweeting about it, that probably helps with getting Mohammed Ibrahim out, the teenager who had been
I'll definitely
detained.
be making a post on this.
Yeah. And
Probably
Shael,
not tonight. Probably
yeah,
sometime tomorrow
Shael Ben
afternoon.
Ephraim has been tweeting about it. So if you follow him, or you should follow him, he's an American Israeli, but he's been really incredible on Palestine, especially the last year or so. Has had been interesting to watch his transition.
Yeah.
To from being kind of a liberal Zionist who was pro what Israel was doing after October 7th to an anti-Zionist. But in any event, yes, we tweet about this if you can. Try to draw attention to it, because this is just really horrible, and these kids can be saved with just a short car trip if Israel will just let them out of Gaza.
Yeah, I know. And obviously it's Christmas Eve, so
Yeah.
hug your babies.
Yeah.
And I know. Does he have? What did you get him anything good? Because
No, I didn't. I buy him so much stuff all the time. I didn't buy him anything for Christmas, and he got so many gifts. Candace Owens said she doesn't do it either, so I felt.
Yeah. No. A lot of
I
people
was
don't.
like, what, he's getting.
I have very
Sam.
little.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got a handful of
I
things.
brought him back some stuff from San Francisco. I was gonna give him at Christmas, and I just couldn't wait, so I just gave it. But he's got plenty of gifts under the tree, so you're gonna get to open them tomorrow, little boy.
I know it. And so enjoy the time with your families.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
all of this
we'll be
stuff can
back.
wait until Friday, obviously. But that's what we will be focused on going into next week. It will be obviously Gaza, obviously stuff with Candace and the Charlie Kirk investigation. And then
Whatever else happens, we don't know.
we'll be trolling Barry Wise.
Yeah.
Don't lie.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Mel.
Bye, guys.
Can you say Merry Christmas?
Bye, baby.
Bye.